Back in late 2022, I had just started driving for Lyft again after taking a break. Money was tight, and with my rent going up and my hours cut at my day job, I figured the night shift would at least bring in enough to keep me afloat. It was a Tuesday, cold, windy, and quiet, the kind of night where the city feels almost deserted. Around 1 a.m., I was parked near an all-night diner, sipping coffee and waiting for another ride request. That's when I got pinged. The pickup was just 7 minutes away in a neighborhood filled with older houses and dead-end streets. The name on the ride said Elijah. No profile picture. I didn't think much of it. People skip profile pics all the time. I accepted and started heading that way. The street was narrow and dark, with only one or two porch lights on. Most of the houses looked worn down. As I pulled up to the pin's location, I didn't see anyone at first. Then I noticed a figure standing by a tree across the street, tall, thin, dressed in all black with what looked like a backpack slung over one shoulder. I lowered my window slightly and called out, "Elijah." He nodded slowly but didn't move until I unlocked the doors. He walked over without a word, got into the back seat, and sat directly behind me. Most passengers sit diagonally in the back, not directly behind the driver. It's just more comfortable. But not him. I confirmed the destination, an address about 18 minutes away on the far side of town. He said, "Yeah," quietly. His voice was deep, calm, and expressionless. We started driving. At first, the silence didn't bother me. Some people are just tired or antisocial. But something about this guy made the silence feel different. He wasn't on his phone, wasn't looking out the window. He just stared straight ahead at the back of my head. I asked if he had a long night, trying to break the tension. He responded after a pause, "Long enough." The rest of the ride was unnervingly quiet. As we got closer to the address, I noticed the GPS leading us to a stretch of road I didn't recognize. No street lights, just trees on either side. The houses out there were spread far apart, and most looked empty. Eventually, he said, "Turn left here," before the app prompted it. "Is that the road?" I asked. "It's quicker," he replied. I hesitated but turned. The road was barely paved and lined with tall hedges. We drove for about 2 minutes before he spoke again. "Stop here." I looked around. There was no house, just a rusted gate and a gravel path that led into the woods. "This is it?" I asked. He leaned forward slightly, and I caught a glimpse of his face in the rearview mirror. His eyes looked tired, but there was something else. Something like anticipation or dread. "I just need to walk from here," he said. I put the car in park. He opened the door, then paused. "You might want to wait a minute before you drive off." I turned around, confused. "Why?" But he didn't answer. He shut the door and walked through the gate, disappearing into the trees. I sat there, engine running, unsure what to do. Part of me wanted to drive away immediately, but something kept me frozen. After about 30 seconds, I heard it. A scream. Not a distant one either. Close. Somewhere down the path. It wasn't long or drawn out, just one sharp, terrified scream. Then silence. I shifted into reverse, heart pounding, ready to bolt. But before I could back out, my headlights flickered. The car stalled for just a second, then came back to life. I didn't wait. I threw the car into drive and peeled out of there, back down the dirt road, tires sliding in the gravel. When I finally made it back to the main road, I pulled over to catch my breath. My hands were shaking. I looked at the app, ready to end the trip, and that's when I saw it. The trip had disappeared. There was no record of the ride, no name, no route, no payment. It was like it never happened. I contacted Lyft support. They said maybe the app glitched or the passenger canceled midway, which can sometimes erase trip data. But I know what I saw. I know I picked someone up. I know I drove him out there. I heard the scream. To this day, I have no idea what happened in those woods, but sometimes, late at night, when I'm driving through quiet roads or picking someone up in a dimly lit neighborhood, I still think about Elijah, and I still wonder, what did he mean by "you might want to wait"? What would have happened if I hadn't? This happened last winter when I agreed to meet up with a girl I'd been talking to on a dating app. Her name was Claire, and we bonded over our love for old abandoned places, abandoned buildings, forgotten towns, that kind of thing. So when she suggested we check out an old, nearly deserted diner on the outskirts of the city, I thought it sounded perfect for a first date. The diner was one of those 1950s-style places, all chrome and neon, but time had worn it down. The sign flickered, half the letters burned out, and the parking lot was cracked and empty except for one other car. When we walked in, the place was dead silent. No music, no chatter, just the hum of an old fridge behind the counter. A single waitress sat on a stool, scrolling on her phone. She barely looked up when we entered. Claire and I took a booth near the back, laughing about how eerie the place felt. The menus were sticky, the vinyl seats cracked, but there was something charming about it. We ordered coffee and pie, joking about how this felt like the opening scene of a horror movie. Then the bell above the door chimed. A man walked in. Tall, thin, wearing a long coat that looked too heavy for the season. His face was gaunt, his eyes sunken. He didn't glance around, didn't speak to the waitress. He just moved straight to the booth directly behind Claire, the one that faced the wall. I tried to ignore it at first, but something felt wrong. The way he sat, completely still, not even pretending to look at a menu. Claire must have noticed too because her smile faltered. She leaned in and whispered, "Is he watching us?" I risked a glance over her shoulder. He was, not just glancing, not just zoning out, staring. His eyes locked onto us with an intensity that made my skin crawl. His hands were flat on the table like he was waiting for something. I turned back to Claire, forcing a laugh. Weird, right? But she wasn't laughing. Her fingers tightened around her coffee cup. Then I heard it, a slow, deliberate tap, tap, tap on the table behind her. Not impatient, not random. Rhythmic, like he was counting. Claire's breath hitched. "Let's go," she whispered. I nodded, throwing cash on the table. As we stood, I glanced back. The man wasn't looking at us anymore. He was smiling. Not a normal smile, something stretched, unnatural, and his hands were still tapping. Tap, tap, tap. We bolted for the door. The waitress didn't even look up as we left. Outside, the parking lot was empty except for our cars. The other car, the one that had been there when we arrived, was gone. Claire and I didn't speak much after that. We texted a few times, but the date had been ruined. A month later, I drove past that diner again on a whim. It was boarded up. A faded sign on the door read, "Closed for repairs." But the windows were thick with dust, the neon sign dark. When I asked around, no one remembered it being open in years. I still don't know